before you roll, I would make you aware that this isn't really a special meeting. This is a change of the regular scheduled meeting. And I'd like to know the process of which you did that, because if you didn't...
I did that by the attorney. I called him. He said it needed to be a special meeting because it wasn't on the yearly calendar.
I would argue that
Well,
that's bad advice, but in the event that he is wrong, and you hold, or I would suggest you're holding an illegal meeting, so I'd ask, are you going to proceed? Do you wish to proceed?
Well, yeah, since we're following an attorney's advice, I'm pretty sure he would know the law just a hair bit. Just a little. This would be the second time that you've called on an illegal meeting. Is that your agenda, Mark?
If you're doing things that aren't correct, you should be advised of it.
I get that, but is that your agenda to go from place to place and pick on?
It's been, what,
just chaos.
chaos, a year and a half or longer since the recall. And have you found that to be the pattern? Yes, I come and record meetings.
No, we have no problem with the recording. I'm just asking if that's your agenda, is to make sure that you're babysitting us.
Any public should be watching the board to help make sure you do things right.
Well, then I appreciate it. Thank you.
And we did what the attorney said.
But we are going to proceed. Okay, you had a chance to look over the agenda. Motion to accept.
I motion.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Minutes for October 4th. You have them in
14th.
or the 14th?
Yeah.
You have those in front of you. Are there any changes or corrections? Hearing none, I'll accept the motion to accept.
I'll make a motion to accept. I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? County Commissioner Brad Benson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Supervisor. Nice to be here on what feels like a November evening. Before I start my regular monthly report, I just want to follow up on a couple of questions from last month's meeting. There's a question in regards to the homeless task force and being unable to locate that. So I did print a copy and I'll hand that to you.
Oh, great.
But I did want to read. Basically, it was a 10-page document, but then there was a summary included on that. So the question was about incarceration of individuals. So item 1, first, the city needs to strengthen law and order. Law and order benefits everyone in our community. Hillsdale taxpayers deserve to have clean parks, safe streets, and orderly public spaces. The poor and destitute deserve not to be victimized by predatory criminals. Specific policy recommendations: dramatically expand jail space at the county and city level in order to more effectively punish antisocial behaviors that exacerbate homelessness, especially drug dealing and sexual abuse. 2, aggressively prosecute the illegal drug trade and eliminate drug dens within the city. Provide a drug task force, which incidentally, we have a drug task force, it's multi-county one, to encourage cooperation between police, prosecution, concerned citizens, and state enforcement to accomplish this goal. Hold landlords acceptable if their properties are used for drug dealing. So, anyway, so there's your copy. You're welcome. If you need it in electronic form, reach out. So I can, because I traded it for my electronic copy. There was a question about the 800 megahertz radio system. The question was, why do the towers connect to the voting machines? So they do not, in short. So the answer is pretty cut forward and straight. The contract, as I was asked if I had not reviewed the contract, did not recall the specific page of that, so I did pull up a copy of the contract. It's on page 30, item 1.3.1, virtualized simulcast prime site. The virtualized prime site is the next generation simulcast voting prime site for Astro 25 trunking systems. Site controller and comparator voting applications are virtualized into a common hardware platform, the DSC 8000 site controller, consolidating fault management and configuration capabilities into a centralized location and allowing for easier implementation and maintenance. Virtualization also enables software-only expandability. For example, when adding base stations to the simulcast subsystem, the prime site only needs to add the voting software licenses to expand the capacity, as no additional hardware is required. This expansion can be done remotely. So, the answer is what voting is in reference to. On a simplified explanation, this voter is actually a process within the radio system where the system tries to find the best tower to use based on the location of the radio that is trying to talk with others. As more than one tower can get a signal from the device, each tower identifies the signal it is receiving from the device, then votes whether that tower can support the signal to a level needed for the voice to be heard easily. Once all the towers have voted, the system processor then selects the tower to use and sends the traffic to that tower and then to the device. This all happens in a matter of milliseconds. It is quite a process that involves a lot of complex math that includes signal strength from the device, anticipated traffic level on the tower, and expected radio propagation from the antenna. So again, it has absolutely nothing to do with voting machines. It is simply a term that is used for that system where basically the radio, it's going out, it's pulling towers, I can hit this one, I can't hit this one, I can hit this one, and then it looks at the system controller that looks at that and then assigns it to a specific tower which has the best ability to support that signal. Alright, moving on to my report. Since we're on the subject of towers, the county now has all 3 locations, at least purchase agreements signed on them. We do have one in Woodbridge Township at the corner of Grass Lake and Camden Roads. It's about 3.8 acres down there. We have, of course, the site in Litchfield that the city of Litchfield gave us in their industrial park. That was probably 2 years ago. And then the last site is here in Adams Township on Reed Road. So as part of our due diligence, we need to do a couple of things. Number one, we have to have a boundary survey so we know exactly where our property lines are at. And the other is we have to do an environmental study. So that way we are benchmarking when we take ownership of a piece of property that we know if there was or was not anything there present on the property. So interestingly, when we bought the Daily News building, we did exactly that. We did a level 1 environmental study on that building because they printed it over the years. So anyways, Woodbridge Township, our level 1 came back, no problems. Reed Road, we have to do a level 2. So what's unique about the Reed Road location? So what did Adams Township have a whole bunch of 30 or 40 years ago? You got it, oil wells. So there evidently was a higher than expected evidence of petroleum on that property. Good explanation for it, but we have to move to a level 2 to benchmark it. The only thing that will really change, we'll still buy the property, it's not an obstruction whatsoever. The only caveat will be, if we do excavate any dirt from there, it has to stay on the site. If we do haul it away, it would have to go to a landfill that would be equipped to handle hazardous materials. So consequently, if we leave the dirt there, it's not a problem. So we are moving forward with that. Also, we did get an update on our new CAD or computer-aided dispatch system. We bought that from Tyler Business Systems. It is the same software that both Jackson County and Lenawee County uses. And the really nice thing is if something were to happen to our dispatch center, and it's like, what could happen to our dispatch center? Well, we do have storms in this part of the world, but Dow Chemical is like 2 city blocks away from it. And there's always potential for release there. So there's always potential for all kinds of other neat stuff to happen. Hopefully that would not happen. But also, vice versa, Jackson County or Lenawee County, their dispatchers can come to Hillsdale County with the 800 system. They can log into the system, plug in their headset, and they can dispatch for their respective county from those locations. So that's really a nice thing about the new software that we will be doing. So that software, it looks like right now, a live date for that would be April 15th of 2025. And moving ahead very, very nicely. One of the things that our county IT department is going to be doing, we are going to be offering all the fire departments, if they want to have a terminal that shows the dispatch information in either their first out fire truck or the medical first responder vehicle, or both, that we will offer them to them, and then we will support them. We'll lease them to them for 3 years, and that way, at the end of that lease, it's probably time for technology refresh. It will be iPads, and like I say, our IT department, they will be responsible for deploying them and supporting them. There'll be 2 costs, or be a combined, it'll be right around $80 a month, depending what the amount, the amount that the vehicle comes out at. But about $40 of that will be for a FirstNet cell phone subscription, because these get their information via cell towers. And then the additional roughly $40 will be for the lease of the iPad itself. So those will be really, really nice. I can tell you that as a medical first responder, it's really, really nice to know how far away your ambulance is, your transporting ambulance. The other thing that's really great is like for the fire departments, if there are things on the property, like an LP tank or an ag operation, you got a big farm right up the road up here that has some big poly tanks, you can actually note in the CAD system for that address that information, and they can have them pull all the maps. So it's a long driveway back in, it might show the address, but you can see the house is a half mile back in. We have a number of those. I can tell you from my appliance business. We have a number of houses that have some really, really long driveways back in. Same thing around the lake. So that will be a really nice adjunct, and I suspect that all the fire departments will probably take advantage of that. We are continuing to move forward with our new materials management plan for the county. Commissioner Ingalls has been in almost weekly communication with Eagle in regards to how that thing is going to look. And the real answer is nobody knows at this point. He actually attended a seminar on recycling and actually monetizing recyclables, because we're going to have a county recycling plan. We're going to have to update that every year as part of this new materials management thing. So he attended that at Michigan State, and there was one of the higher-ups at Eagle who is specifically involved with these new material management plans. And he said, basically, we're still writing. The ink's still wet on a lot of this, and we're still writing on a lot more of it. We really don't know what it's going to look like, but the biggest thing that they want from us is progress. They want to see that we are moving forward. So it is our intention that probably in December of this year that we hope to have those committee members appointed, and then they will be able to start meeting and actually roughing out what this new materials management plan will look like. So all I can tell you is we have 120 days to at least have a draft of it, and so we need to get moving on it. But it's going to be a big endeavor. Another interesting thing about that is we sometimes talk about unfunded mandates. Well, the legislature, they made all the counties have to rewrite these, okay, and they taxed some money to it, okay. They said you'll get $60,000 a year for 2 years, and then after that, you'll get 50 cents for every person in your county. So Hillsdale County would get roughly $23,000 a year going forward. The guy from Eagle says the legislature hasn't funded it. There's no money. So that's going to be another interesting thing, because again, we're not supposed to have unfunded mandates in Michigan. The legislature not to do that. They find sometimes creative ways to get around those things. So that will be another interesting component. I know that Keith O'Neill from Reading Emergency Unit has come and given the township, he has throughout the entire district, at least an annual report from Reading Emergency Unit. And I wanted to share with you that Keith, about 10 days ago, notified the Board of Commissioners that he has resigned his position with the Reading Emergency Unit, effective the 10th of December. He's going to be taking a new position with a different employer. So I would like to say that Keith has been probably, in my experience, the best in communication of any of the directors that REU has had. He has done an excellent job of getting information that comes to the Board of Commissioners every quarter, and when they turn in their quarterly reports, goes through those, answers any questions, and he has been very, very good at being out in the community and pushing that. So he definitely will be this. We did receive a week ago at our first meeting of the month the proposed 2025 County General Fund and Special Revenue Fund budget. After we kind of beat that up a little bit and played around with it, the proposed general fund budget should be $15,734,700. $15,734,662. $15,734,662. And that will leave us with no change in our fund balance, and the fund balance is $2,015,125.29. And to do the math for you, that's 13% of our general fund budget. When your guys' auditors here, when our auditor comes to us, they tell us that fund balances should be probably somewhere between 10 and 15% of your general fund budget. So we're right in the middle of that at 13, so we're sitting good. Our rainy day fund is good. If that gets to be above 15, I can tell you this commissioner will probably be saying we either need to dial our county general operating revenue back a little bit, and that we need to not take more money than we need to have in that rainy day fund. So definitely would not be to spend more. We also did address the subject of commissioner pay. With the new 4-year terms, it makes that a little bit different because commissioners are different than all the other elected officials in that we cannot adjust our pay within our term. So if we are going to have a pay increase for the office of county commissioner, then it has to be done before the beginning of the new term. And a number of counties have asked MAC, Michigan Association of Counties, well, how does this affect with the new 4-year terms? Because you cannot adjust within now 4 years instead of 2. So MAC actually wrote a legal opinion and said as long as any changes are made, you can do steps on an annual basis, but you have to do them before the beginning of the term. So, the Board of Commissioners, we did adjust pay. It was the same level of adjustment that all the other electeds, not our hourly rated and department head employees, but all of our elected employees, they got 3%. However, because of that we can't adjust within term, we actually have not adjusted with the other electeds for 4 years. And so, in the first year, for 2025, the pay will actually go up 16%. And the last time we did that, it went up 18% to get up to the same level of increase that the other electeds had gotten over the same period of time. So, and then we did a 2% increase in 26, 27, and 28. And so we're hoping that inflation isn't 5%, but that way then the idea is by doing those incrementals, we don't have that, it's not a huge amount of money, it's like $900 for 16%, but 16% looks bad, especially when you give all your other employees a 3% raise. So, and then our rank and file employees, they got the 3% cost of living increase, but they also, you may recall we did a wage and compensation study, and they get on that step, that annual step, they'll get about a 3.2% increase. So they, in total, will get about a 6.2% increase in their pay starting in January of next year. So, but the other electeds, like I say, the electeds will only get 3%. So we were not part of that compensation study. You may have heard Lifeways, our two-county community mental health agency, they made a presentation to the Board of Commissioners last Tuesday asking us if we would use the county's ability to issue tax-exempt bonds to allow them to build their new 28,000 square foot facility in the city of Hillsdale. And just going back on that, you may recall their current 9,800 square foot facility up on Carrot Drive. They have said that that is too small, and in order to be able to do the programming like they do in Jackson, they would need to sizably expand. They initially said doubling the size of it, and actually that will be more like 3 times the size of it. And they purchased 8 acres out on Industrial Drive, right at the corner of Industrial and Beck. So my landmark is the Stadium Roller Rink. It's now the Well Activity Center, but it's directly behind where the roller rink was. So they're at the end of Industrial Drive. And that property was owned by the Center for Family Health out of Jackson, which is a private nonprofit healthcare company. They had actually looked at expanding into Hillsdale County. They had rented some space for a year or 2 down here, had a clinic, felt that the numbers just didn't crunch for them, and so they decided to withdraw from Hillsdale County and not do business there. So they had a piece of property. So the property that Lifeways purchased was already actually owned by a tax-exempt entity. So, but they asked us if we would bond for them to the tune of $50,500,000 for 20 years. And the pitch on that was that we, as a county, being able to issue tax-exempt bonds, would have a much lower borrowing rate. So I won't say that I'm the greatest person at math, but I'm a numbers guy. I like to crunch numbers. I've been in business for a lot of years. I have a lot of fun with license statistics, things like that. And so I applied pencil to paper. Lifeway's current budget is $105 million. Now, going back, our proposed general fund budget is $50,700,000. So significantly, like 7 times what the county's budget is, all right? And that's assuming no growth over that 20-year period. So 105 million, take that over 20 years, that is well in excess of $2 billion with a big dollars in revenues that they will have over that period of time. So the savings in their presentation, and they had a very nice, about 40-page PowerPoint that they went through. The savings to them was about $3 million. So if you take that and start reducing it down, 20 years, that's $150,000 a year. That sounds like real money, okay? But when you do it as a portion of their budget, it's 0.0014 of their budget. So to make that even simpler for me to understand, I just took that as a percentage of my budget, okay? And so my household income is about $50,000 a year. And so if I were to take that, 0.0014 of my household budget is $70. So when I looked at it to issue the county going on the hook and issuing general obligation bonds, I couldn't see that they did not have the wherewithal to be able to make up the difference and be able to go to a commercial lending institution to be able to do that. And so I was joined by 2 other commissioners in defeating that proposal. The answer is Lifeways will most likely still go ahead. They seem to, like I say, they got the money to be able to make the payments. They will just have to apply to a commercial lending institution for a loan to be able to move forward with that project. Doesn't mean the project is not going to go. It doesn't mean that myself or the other commissioners have a problem with Lifeways. We just felt that we shouldn't put the taxpayers of Hillsdale County on the hook for that when the entity that is making the ask seemingly more than adequately has the resources to be able to borrow the money on their own. And that concludes my report for the evening, unless you have questions for me.
Anybody?
I do have a question. I don't know if you know about, I noticed that last year about this time, there was a thing about, on somebody's property on Peterson Road, they were building a non-conforming building or something. And it was on an absentee owner's property. I think you brought it up at the time. Has that been?
Oh, I think that was,
Has that been
there were some people that were camping on a piece of property out there.
The building's been removed.
Oh, has it? Okay.
We issued paperwork on it, and they took the building down.
Great. And thanks for this report.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mark Klein, County Road.
Thank you for having me. At our October 10th meeting, we adopted our new budget. And for 2024, our amended budget was $15,657,944. And our budget for 2025 that we adopted is $11,794,253, which is a reduction of $3.8 million. And this is primarily due to lower gas tax funds, because we get our funding for the road commission through primarily gas taxes. And we are not alone. Hillsdale County is just one of 83 road commissions. And at our recent meeting of the Southeast Council, which is road commissions from Branch, Calhoun, East to Washtenaw, we don't include the metro region. everyone was commenting on the same thing, that, in fact, across the state, that, the Michigan Transportation Fund isn't keeping up with what, road commission's expenditures are. So that part doesn't look very good for the coming year. And I handed you the adopted, cost sharing policy for local road and bridge projects. And, this is, I mean, if you've got any questions on it, I'd be glad to answer them now. This is what we'll be going over when we meet in January with all the townships and the road projects, that we can and cannot do. And this is just our new cost sharing policy.
Okay, I don't have any question. I'm gonna look it over real good before we meet in January.
And when we meet in January, and like I said, any projects that you wanna do, the manager would go over the bid with you and explain everything right out, so, both parties understand.
Okay.
Other than that, we're continuing to finish up projects throughout the county. Probably after this rain doesn't get too bad, we'll probably start straightening the roads again, gravel roads. The biggest single reason they didn't do any scraping was most of the trucks were tied up on the North Adams Road, putting the gravel down on the shoulders.
Well, during that rain, it all turned to soup.
Oh, yeah. But I mean, after this rain that we're getting now, and they get the project completed, which I think they've only gotta go from just past the village limits out to my place, and then they'll have that done, and then they can go back scraping roads. They'll probably be putting their salters in and everything, getting ready for winter. Hopefully we don't get any.
Keep
Other
on.
than that, that's about all I've got to report. I did attend the Frugal Five meeting, which is 5 county road commissions, and we call ourselves that because we're all about similar population. And one of the big topics was grants, and the MDOT grants that we could apply for, you have to have a population, it's considered a rural county of a population of 250,000. And what's Hillsdale, 45,000, 48,000, somewhere in there?
46.
46, okay. So at this meeting, what we talked about doing was like maybe forming together enough counties to get us to 250. And if we could get a grant, maybe we could possibly share it or do it over several years where one county picks a big project. Because the bad part about it is you get the grant money, you still have to have a matching money to go with the grant. It isn't just you get that pile of cash. So this is still an ongoing discussion, so possibly, the biggest thing that the other counties were all talking about, and Hillsdale County too, was bridges. Because bridges are expensive to replace. And they have a state program called the Bridge Bundling Program, and you can apply for money for 4 bridges every year. And most of the times you get 1, maybe 2. This year we didn't get any. We were not picked to have a bridge in the Bridge Bundling Program. So we're kind of on our own on that. We are in the process of replacing the Elm Road Bridge, or well, it's a bridge, we're gonna replace it with a culvert. Eagle allows us to do that. And then the bridge on Somerset Road, just north of Stewart Road. But that will be with Wheatland Township, that's a local bridge. So, other than that, that's about the end of my report. Anyone have any questions, comments, concerns? Yes, sir.
I was driving from North Osseo to Dewey, going towards State Road. There's a tree that looks like, to me, there's at least a couple of branches that have blanched. I mean, they're like dead and hanging over. There's a lot of limbs hanging over the road. I don't know, I just thought I'd make you aware of it.
got tree work to do all over the county.
Okay.
In fact, some of the bigger trees, that because of the manpower doing other jobs, we're looking at possibly contracting those out. Some of the bigger trees, and get to the ones that are dead, and get them out of the, supposed to fall on the road or fall on somebody. So that's one thing we're looking at there. Other than that, that's all I got. Anybody else? Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ken.
Okay, we're gonna go into public comment. Remember, keep comments strictly to the board, not amongst each other. Be respectful. 3 minutes. Who's first?
I will go first. I'd like to apprise the board that the public has a perfect right to question and even instruct. The Constitution says you can instruct through petition. The way that I was questioned back seems to indicate a level of arrogance and disdain for the public, and the way that Susie responded. I appreciate the answer, but the attitude that's conveyed with it is not very conducive to good government. In regards to other meetings that I complained, I did at a recent meeting complain because the posting on the door was inadequate to informing the public of the completeness of what they needed to know to attend the meeting. And you should be careful of these things. It was a planning commission meeting, and the planning commission blamed you. They said, we told them. So, and
I forgot the date, I forgot the time.
that makes it,
And it was corrected, and they had a special meeting. So, again, through the attorney.
And he was there and he knew about it.
so, but in the event of doing a meeting, going ahead and holding a meeting that's illegal, you could incur litigation to the township. It's been done before. Some of you should remember that, and it's something you should be careful of. If we're not a nation of laws, then anarchy reigns. And if we have laws, you're supposed to follow them as best you can. So if the public wants to apprise you of them, you ought not answer them disdainfully. I guess that's all I have to say right now.
Anybody else? Hearing none. Move on. All business. There is none. New business. No new business. Treasurer's notes.
Just have that report in a minute.
Entertain a motion to accept treasurer's notes.
A motion.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Bill.
On the bills, I'll point out Mark, we did send in
Thank
the check that's due.
you.
Bills in the amount of $24,000. $998.64. Entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded to pay the bills in the amount of $24,998.64. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Cemetery in the amount of, geez, $3,217.46. Entertain a motion.
A motion.
Motion made
I'll second.
and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Bills are paid. Clerk notes.
Election went really well. We had a grand total of 411 AV ballots requested, of which 377 were returned. We had about, I think it was 249 people who went to early voting. had about 798 show up that day. We had a good turnout. A lot of new voters, a lot of new registrations.
Awesome. Good.
Yeah, the voting equipment worked out really well, so.
I like the addition of the,
Photos will help.
did cut down on clutter.
Yeah.
All right, I have none. Public comment for the second time. Anybody besides something to say? Mr. Klein.
At the Southeast Council meeting, it was told to the rest of the road commissions by the County Road Association that townships across the state had contributed $180 million to road projects across the state. And it's very appreciative of the townships helping out.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, it is.
But when you look at the big picture, that's all over the state.
Yeah, that's all the counties in the state.
Anybody else? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn. I'll second.
Motion made and seconded to adjourn.